Okay, so we are officially live. Yeah, pull it up on the YouTube. Check things out on there. This is the first time we've actually had some graphics. God, to go with stuff. Vince is playing a little music in the background for us as well.
That's a good
We're here today with myself, Jim, Patrick Heckroth. We've got Vincent Schneider, and we've got Tom Scott. So we've got a majority, or I would say 3/4 of the coaching staff. We'd like to officially announce that Aaron Combs is going to be taking his skills elsewhere. Tom, do you want to tell us a little bit about where Aaron's going?
Yeah, he accepted a position today at Salem. It's in West Virginia, a town of 2,000 people. Super small school, Division II, about 500 students. They've got about 20 kids on the track and field roster, and he's pretty excited. He'll be the only full-time coach there, but he's pretty excited to have a program of his own and see how much he can make it improve. So we're excited to send him off.
Cool. All right, Vince, anything you want to say to Aaron in closing as he departs, heads off into the big...
Aaron was one of the last, or the longest lasting people here at Queen still, I think.
Now, how long has he actually been here?
He came
well,
here
not
in,
even
2015
staff.
or something like that?
Yeah.
So it's pretty much...
This live. The only thing that's here is
Jim and Vince show.
That's true. Let me flip that around.
Good we have one watching right now.
It's a good thing he's watching, because if not, it wouldn't stuck like that.
I apologize. So I forgot about that. You got to do... Hey, if you're just joining us, Mandy and Coach Hazel, check out the... Oh, you know what? I think I need to update the link in my profile, don't I?
Yep. You do.
Okay, I'm going to hand that over to Vince. He's going to update the link in the profile. We're going to be doing the Jim and Vince show all day long.
No, I have my class, but yeah.
This is very important, Mandy. We're just having an announcement. We're talking about what's going on here. We're also introducing Coach Heckroth, who's checking things out here at Queens. Vince is here as well. Tom is here as well. And we are talking track and field today. So that's pretty much all that we're doing. Are you logging onto the Instagram account and updating the URL?
Currently,
So if you want to, we're going to be doing this coaching thing live.
I don't know if I can get the URL.
Why not? Just share, log into the YouTube live channel, share it,
You want me
and then
to-
copy
Here,
it,
I
and drop
can
it in.
do it real quick because I'm better than you.
Get it from somebody else's.
No, watch this. Watch this. I'm gonna do it right now. I already did it. It's done.
Okay, so if you're interested, go ahead and make your way over to
That link is now.
link in the profile. Link in the profile. Go check it out. Okay, so if you just checked it out, just joined us here on Instagram Live. Go check that out. Okay, so we were just talking a little bit about coaching staff changes. Aaron Combs is going to officially become a full-time employee for Salem. Salem University, Salem College. It's in West Virginia, a little small university, and he's going to be moving on. So that's good for him. We love to see people who've come here and worked with us get full-time pay. I can say this on air with confidence. He will be making more than Steven Souza as of the clearing of that contract.
No, that's the type of content I want to hear and see.
Still got to get a background check. So
Still got to,
we'll see how that
contingent with
goes.
the background check. But has Souza cleared his background check?
Questionable.
Questionable. Okay, he probably will. We're not worried about that. Steven Souza, another guy that worked with us the last couple of years, and then have moved on. So today, what are we covering? A little bit. First of all, we just want to introduce Patrick here, who's going to be working with us this next year. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what your background is, and what you're going to be working with this next year?
Sure. Patrick Heckroth. I've been in the Division II scene for 4 years now. Started at Division I, and originally from the great state of Iowa, which I always represent Iowa. Did not go to the university there. I went to Northern Iowa, the better track school of the three. but it's one of those things that worked at a school in North Carolina, just on the East Coast there for 3 years. Took a job up in South Dakota for 1 year, and then the wife and I decided to move on back down to the warmth of the South, and so we chose to be down in the Charlotte area.
Cool. Well, exciting to have you be joining us, and we're looking forward to having you work with sprints and jumps this next year. Do you have an area expertise or something that you prefer more than one other event area?
Probably. I mean, I guess I was a hurdler in college. I guess so that'd be kind of my preference. But I've worked with the sprints, the hurdles, and the jumps. Had success in jumps right away, but that was more because of the athletes. When you deal with great athletes, you can have success. But then it's probably the hurdles is where the cup of tea is, the preference is. But anytime you get an opportunity to work with anybody, and the caliber of athlete at Division II and Division I, anything like that in college, it's always an exciting time. So.
Okay, so we're just having a little fun with it. Tell me a little bit about what's your favorite part of hurdles, whether it's the type of athletes that you work with, the fact that you've got something other than just a flat surface that you're running across. I mean, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. It's just the fact that there's something to do besides just running. Even when I was an athlete, I never really liked to run that far. Even now, 5K is way too far for me because I get bored. And so just having the hurdles there where you can actually, break it down hurdle by hurdle, and you can give them objective goals to complete, and then still being allowed to, still have the overall top speed. So, just the ability for me to actually have a analytical side of things with the numbers. So.
Cool. Well, we haven't gotten to the point where we're going to announce our incoming class. We're still finalizing some of the pictures that we're going to get from some of our athletes. Look for that in the next week. We've got some personal bests, all that stuff laid out. We've got some really good hurdlers coming into this class. Last year we signed a kid named Stefan Jung-Michel. Okay, and he ran 1380 in high school.
At some point in his life.
Yeah. Yes, he ran 1380 in high school. We've got another young lady coming in named Jenny. What are her personal bests?
I think she ran, what was it, at 13.8?
I think 13.8 in the 100-meter hurdles.
100-meter
dash.
100, she ran 11.7 or 8.
Yeah.
So she's going to be faster than a lot of our guys. Yeah.
Can you talk about some of the other girl hurdlers that we have that are coming in and maybe what their personal bests are?
Another multi coming in. We have 2 more multis coming in.
Carries and Sophie.
Right. And then another hurdler from the UK, female.
Molly.
Yes. What's her PR?
1441.
That's right there.
Mm-hmm.
Our multi girls are not going to be as fast.
Carries is a 1507.
Yeah. So our hurdles crew is going to be a lot bigger, better. If you look at the type of athletes we had last year, and that they were able to improve a lot in the hurdles towards the end of the year.
I mean, to just give us some context, we have a young lady on our team, Elise Olseth, and she ran 14.50 at the end of the year, and her personal best coming into the year was 15.5. So if we've got girls, we kind of look at girls, guys, if we've got people that come in that start with personal best in the 15 flat to 15-1 range, we fully expect those type of people, if we make progression in the flat races and stuff like that, to be able to run in the low to mid 14s by the end of the year. Melanie Welsing was one that she ran 14.38, I think, at the very end of the year in a multi. Mm-hmm. The thing that's also kind of cool is almost all those girls are long jumpers, and Carrie Lee is an 18-foot long jumper. Jenny's a 19-foot long jumper.
Well, hasn't long jumped in a while. But...
Yeah, but she's a 580 girl. She's a 19. That's 19 feet right on the nine. So that's really, really. So we've got a good group of girls, and we've got Melanie Welsing who's jumped 18 feet. We've got Elise who's jumped 19 plus. Jenny who's jumped 19. We've got Carrie's who's jumped 18. That's 4 girls over 18 feet that are either freshmen or sophomores. Right. So that's a pretty elite group. They're all hurdlers. Melanie and Elise at the end of the year jumped 164, which is 5.4.5. So our girls group, so Sophie, not a great long jumper. She's a 17-foot long jumper, but she's a 5.7 high jumper. So we've got 2 5.7 high jumpers. We've got 2 5.4.5 high jumpers. We're pretty pretty flush when it comes to long jump, triple jump, high jump, multis, hurdles. It's going to be a fun year.
That group is just spreading out across all events, I think, and
And they all throw the javelin.
yeah, we'll see about that.
Well, I mean, most of them throw the javelin. I'm talking
They do
about
throw it.
Carries and Sophie. Both of
true.
those throw over 30 meters. You know, both Carries and Sophie, they're both multis. Sophie's the one that's got some really long levers and actually throws a little bit better than Carries does, and she's a 34, 35 meter plus javelin thrower. We've got Elise who's coming back, who's almost a 42 meter thrower. She's got a 41.89 personal best. So a good group of kids coming in. So Tom, can you talk to us a little bit about what we've got coming in on the distance side? I guess right now we're just doing a preview of who's coming in on the team. So
Yeah, we've got a pretty solid
do you have your headphones in for a reason?
incoming class.
Get out of here. All right, so tell us about your guys' class, your girls' class.
I'm really excited about the classes we've got. We've got somewhere 14 freshmen or 14 incomers coming in on the distance side. We've got, if you look at kids like Johnny Grant, who've run 4:17 in the mile, 9:48 in the 3,200. We've got Aaron Johnson, who's a 9:38. Lance Sotelo, who's run 9:38. And then we've got a good group of solid developmental athletes who may not have run quite that quick in high school, but have the potential to improve based on their training age and their training background. And what we're trying to do is just develop depth. We want depth on the distance side. We want to build out our steeplechase group, and some of those freshmen coming in have expressed interest in that. And we want to score a lot of points in every event group on the distance side, and so we just need depth. And on the women's side, we've got Madison Webster coming in. She's a freshman. She's run 11 flat in the 3,200 and 5:04 in the mile. She's also run 2:17 in the 8. She's got some range, and she'll be a solid girl, and I think we'll likely look to break 18 this year in the 5K. But she can run any event, and we've got a couple triathletes who will be coming over after their fall triathlon season to run track with us. Sub 19 minute girl and mid 38 minute 10K-er, and then Lori Sharp. She's from Jamaica. She runs 2:20 in the 800 and 4:50 in the 1,500. So she'll be another solid girl. And then we're still working on a couple girls. Stevie Lawrence is one that will likely be here. She's run 9:56 in the 3K, 4:30 in the 1,500, and 2:14 in the 800. So hopefully we get some good news in the next couple of days from admissions from her. But yeah.
Cool. So it sounds like we've got a pretty good group. We've got a bunch of returners coming back. Sounds pretty solid. So we do have U.S. championships coming up here, and I know that yesterday we actually went and took a look a little bit about who's coming in here. Let's just see what we've got going on here right now, because Let's Run, and we talked about this yesterday, does a great job of actually highlighting what's going to happen at the U.S. Championship. So we'll just pull that up a little bit here. We'll go back to the main forum. And they talked about some of the things that we talked about yesterday. Mainly, do we think Centro is going to win the 1,500? Tom, what do you think?
Yes.
And why? No yes or no questions here. You got to talk.
He's a vet, seasoned vet. He's an Olympic gold champion, gold medalist in the 2016. He's got the fastest seed time by 4 seconds. I think even if he is a little bit off due to new coaching or an injury, I think he's just been a solid competitor for the last 9-10 years in the 1,500, and that experience goes a long way.
Do you think, based upon his recent race results, that he's honestly going to be able to beat out?
Spot, Jim.
Well, I just want to know. I want your
results.
Okay. So if any of you have been actually watching what's going on, he's struggled a little bit. He's moved coaches. You talk a little bit about that. And jump in there, Patrick, if you know what's going on. Does anybody else know what's going on? Am I the only one who watches distance races during the year?
Hell yeah, probably.
Okay.
I think if you look at Centro, he's one of those guys that he has the attitude to back it up. So even if he's not 100% on, he can still race when he needs to. I think conditions in Des Moines are going to be very nice for him amongst for other distance runners. I'm guessing, just knowing what it's
Well, you
what it's
know
like.
more about
I'd
Des
say just
Moines than
knowing what it's
probably
like right
any
now.
of us.
But I think I would rather if we were a betting group, which we're not.
Don't bet on it.
I would choose Centro until proven otherwise. I mean, he proved it at the Olympic Games, and I think when he needs to race fast, he'll do it. So that's just an opinion, but
I don't know if they've got anything in here, but
He's
really,
run 3:37 this year. So
Right.
That's what we're,
So you're way off with your
yeah.
4 seconds ahead of everybody. While
Well,
he's
his
2 seconds behind.
Well, if you look at his seed time, they don't go off of what
yeah.
he's run this year. This is the 2019 year. They're using the 2018 time for that seed time.
so I think this is a really good stat in here that Let's Run does a good job of highlighting is that athletes with the standard, which is 3:36, the only ones that have it, and I'm trying to set this up so it looks a little bit better for you guys at home so you can actually see the page here. Craig Engels, Matthew Centrowitz, Ben Blankenship, Johnny Gregoric, Clayton Murphy, Sam Prackle, Henry Wynn, Isaac Yorks, and Brandon Kidder are the only ones that actually have the IAAF standard. So the way that the USA is, it's a winner-take-all one-day event, top 3 with the standard. Now, if the guy that was third finished in 3:38, didn't have the standard, they would take the guy in fourth if he had the standard. So, I mean, looking at those, there's really a very, very small race among a certain number of guys that are really trying to go to the World Championships. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it before where guys are in the top 3 and don't have the standard and don't get through.
and most of those guys that have the standard have the international racing experience too, where if they go to the World Championships, they're actually going to do something with it, versus just going and saying, yeah, you won the U.S. trial or the U.S. Championship, but this is your first time racing. You're going to go, tank at the end, if you will.
Okay, I'm putting my money on Craig Engels. Just so everybody here knows. Everybody at home,
Is it because of the mustache
it is,
and the mullet?
right? If we want to talk about Craig Engels, does he still have the mustache? Does he still have the mullet?
Yeah.
I thought he cut it off.
He
That's
did. He had it when he
iconic
raced
look.
at Pre, right?
So you didn't really answer my question yesterday, Tom.
Yeah. No,
What
I
that
agree.
does for distance runners.
And why do distance
Breaks
runners
the wind,
sport the mustache? Why
so
do
you
they?
feel the wind?
So you don't feel. It just breaks it, so it doesn't hit your face.
It gets you the.
Yeah, but the mullet that'll
I
slow you
mean,
down. I mean, it will
look-
create
look at that.
downforce, but I don't think a lot of people run
Well,
fast enough.
let's pull it up.
Yeah, maybe
here.
it's just like a spoiler. That's
Yeah.
the whole point.
Downforce. Maybe that's what it is. Well,
that
I'm
right?
just curious because like
ENGLES?
every meet you go to, every level, there will be a
ENGLES.
distance runner who thinks he's.
It's ELS, but
I think Google will be able to figure out what I'm trying to say here. So one of the things that we're talking about is ELS, right? Dr. Craig
Family
Engels.
doctor in Oklahoma City.
Well, all right.
Free
So-
publicity right there, folks.
Should have put the 1500 down here. Let's just go over here to images. But when Craig, who transferred from North Carolina State, ran at Ole Miss, he's a guy who looks like he's having a lot of fun, all right? I mean, that's the one thing that I appreciate about distance guys is they don't take things too serious. They show up with a gigantic... I want to know, is how does this affect his romantic life? Does he have an opportunity to even meet any ladies with
Well,
this
let's-
type of...
let's Google is Craig Engels signal single.
Could be.
I don't think we have enough insider information to answer that question.
That's a great question. Well, let's think about this. The guys that are on our team that grow mustaches, do they have girlfriends?
I don't know if we have someone on. our
Who's
team
married?
with
they grow a
mustache.
Who's married in this group? Guys with facial hair? No facial hair? Still not married.
Oh, I'm not married.
Well, he's not married.
Also
He's got facial hair. He
27.
could be married if he wanted. Look
Yeah.
at that beard.
He's just
It's not
choosing.
for loss of opportunity.
Yeah. So again, I'm going with Craig
Up
Engels.
to admissions, girl.
Craig Engels recently ran a personal best of 144 in the 800, so we know that he's fast. He ran 351 in the Bowerman Mile, so he's strong enough to handle it. He's run a personal best of 335 in the 1500.
But the real question is how much can he bench press?
Not enough to win a bench press contest, but I think enough to win the 1500.
You hear that, Felix?
I think, is Lopez Lamong entered in this? Yeah,
Is he?
several guys double entered. You've got Murphy, Bergier, and Kidder in the 800 and the 1500. Grant Fisher. Grant Fisher is in the 1500 and the 5K, and Lopez Lamong is entered in the 1500, the 5K, and the 10K.
Yeah.
So which one's he going to drop out of?
I don't know. That's what I was going to say. Based upon the schedule, that might be a really, really
they still
interesting
have to
thing.
follow the rules too, right? Where they can't.
Nope. I don't think that applies. So can you talk us through
The honest effort rule.
Yeah.
I mean, they do that in the Olympics. So why
Do they?
Why do they? Yeah. Remember there was a big thing with Talufi when the year he won the 1500.
did he run the 8 as well?
He ran the 8, but he dropped out of one of the prelims. He just reinstated. Basically, they said he was dehydrated or something.
After 200 meters.
Yeah.
That's what Adam.
coming.
So I'm not going to bag too much on Adam State here, but I mean that's one of the teams that's known for doing something like that. That if they're athletes, and I can't prove it, but I've seen it and we've talked about it with other coaches. If their athletes are not in a scoring position and they're running a 5K and they got a 3K the next day, they drop out because they're dehydrated. They get cleared for a medical thing the next day, and they're back in the 3K, and they don't have
drink
all
a lot of Gatorade after the race.
Yeah, well, they don't have a lot of volume on their legs. But
Oh,
have you guys heard any of that?
No.
Really? Must be the only one in the know. Well, for those of you who aren't in the know out there, I guess that's what I've seen and that's what I've heard. So doesn't mean I'm right. Okay, we've got a wide open steeplechase. So people with the IAAF standard, we got Hillary Bohr, Stanley Kabeni, Andy Bayer, Jordan Mann, Mason Furlick, Absa Ali, and Travis Mahoney. I am going to go with Hillary Bohr.
So am I. Fun fact, though, Andy Bayer was the first live sub-4 mile I ever witnessed.
Where was that at?
I was at IU on their bank track. I was standing there in awe as to how someone could run so fast. I was like a sophomore or junior in college.
Also, Stanley Kabeni does train with Hillary Bohr. I just found that out here. Trains with Scott Simmons out in Colorado Springs. Stanley Kabeni's got an 8:15 best this year, while Hillary Bohr, I believe, has run 8:0 this year. 2 other Americans have broken it. Yeah. Andy Bayer's another one as well. So it should be a good group.
But didn't what did he get at the World Championships or
Bohr?
Olympics? Wasn't he
I think it was
silver?
second or third. Scott Simmons coached athletes have been some of the. If you're Alberto Salazar or Scott Simmons, those are the only 2 distance coaches. Well, Evan Jagger, I guess. So Jerry Shoemaker. So there are really 3 distance coaches that have had people have world championship success, right?
Yeah.
And we're not talking ladies. I mean that. Then you'd have to start talking about Jenny Simpson. You'd have to start talking about.
Mark Wetmore.
Yeah, but what's the girl that runs the steeple?
Oh,
Colleen?
Emma Coburn.
Emma Coburn.
Oh.
Colleen
She's-
Quigley. Who does she run with? Do we know?
She runs for Bowerman.
And who coaches them?
Isn't that?
Is that Shoemaker's group?
Yeah, because it's the same.
Yeah.
Because then you have Shelby Houlihan, who's from Iowa.
Yeah. Sioux City.
Yeah,
I watched her run in high school.
I did too. She's
Is she related to Shayla? Is Shayla
yes,
her older
that's
sister?
Her older sister.
Okay.
So
Who's floating around? Doesn't have a coaching job now.
yeah, I saw that. I saw that on Twitter actually.
Yeah.
And so it's that whole staff, and you got a lot of turmoil right now.
So Shelby
West Coast.
Houlihan's older sister Shayla Houlihan was at Cal the last couple of years and has been on the coaching staff there, but now looking for a new gig. But that is what happens. I mean, this is that time of year when people get new jobs and people go out and look for new things. So
So I don't know if you guys saw the new news that came out. It's going to go off of the U.S. champions, but the marathon got the what's it called, the gold ticket or whatever.
Yeah.
And so now we can actually do the 1, 2, 3 and have that count towards the Olympics
I
instead.
thought we were all going to Willy Wonka's.
Yeah,
I've got the gold too.
but that came out, so that was exciting. I mean, now as people say, I think Let's Run was saying the same thing. Is the marathon actually means something now instead of just racing to be racing? So
Yeah.
that was good.
Yeah, and that was announced today, was it not?
Yeah, I saw it yesterday.
Did you see it yesterday? Okay, I get almost all of my running news from Let's Run. So
Yeah.
if I haven't visited it, today, then I don't really know what's
So
going
wait,
on.
it says top 3 finishers will go to the Olympics. Wasn't that already?
Well, no, because
That was our system.
And then they changed it. The IAAF thing changed the rule on that, where you had to hit a standard or something like that.
They had to
Oh.
have the standard going
Yeah.
into it.
Oh, okay. I hate this.
But yeah, so they came out with it now that they got like grandfathered in, if you will, since they said like the course is already set up, the merchandise, or the promotion, like all that stuff was already set up. It was basically too big a cost not to do it. So.
That's still interesting. Trying to think, in other news, not related to. Sorry, working on it. Oh, we got the camera back in. Okay, so other news. I was just on the phone earlier today, and the South Atlantic Conference is considering moving the heptathlon and the pentathlon into part of the meet. Vince, you want to talk about that a little bit?
That's
Maybe just opinions of what you think.
news.
Well, big news to me. So what do you think?
Well, we were just talking about this yesterday, not on the air, but off the air, about the opportunities, the pros and cons of having it in the meet versus having it 2 weeks out, and basically about the opportunities we give our multi-athletes. So what was discussed on the phone?
Oh, so I guess one of the things, and I can probably just bring that up here. Give me a moment. But basically, there were 2 different opportunities that were discussed as far as scheduling. And that's really the biggest question. Right now, the way that things, can you talk about how things are done right now?
Well, I can talk about how we did it last
Yeah,
year. Where
exactly.
we have our multi-meet at JDL, and it was 2 weeks, a week and a half out.
It was 10 days out.
10 days out, so a week and a half from the actual conference meet, but the multi counted in towards the conference meet, basically. So it was an open competition, and everybody that's in the SAC basically was in their own competition. Yeah.
So what's the difference, with...
So now if we plug it into the actual meet, we're having a 2-day meet.
Just keep talking, I'm almost there.
What happens is, people are doing the same things. They're just doing it in a 2-day span versus a 4-day span, I guess, with 10 days in between. Because if you're doing the HEP, you're doing the HEP, and then for some of our kids who are just good enough to be put in other events. So, for example, if we look at Stevie, he would do the HEP, and he would probably run the hurdles and do some other stuff. So he would end up doing 10 events over 2 days, which is not optimal. You basically, and that was one of the points that we made yesterday, is that you would have to start the multis very early in the morning to just kind of allow for a good...
well, here we go. Let's take a look
that's
at what's actually
just
been proposed.
well,
Okay.
that's the first time I've seen that.
Yeah, first time you've seen this. So the way that we're actually talking about stuff to here, like potentially, is our event starts a little bit later in the day to allow everybody time to travel over.
Mhm.
So if you're Lincoln Memorial, if you are Tusculum, if you are Carson Newman, even if you're Newberry or Anderson and you're traveling from a couple hours away, we start at 4 o'clock, so it gives everybody the opportunity to show up at the venue and get ready and compete. The way that this is laid out is your competition, this is a much smaller group, right? There were probably, I think outdoor there were 14 men and about 14 women that competed in the heptathlon and the decathlon. This would start that at noon. And that's the women's pent. So theoretically, the women's pentathlon is done at 5:25, which means that the women have from 5:25 until 6:35, they have an hour to recover before they run the hurdles. So theoretically, this gives you plenty of time to not only double but triple and do some other things.
Yeah, theoretically, but at that point, that's your 6th event.
And your 7th event is going to be women's long jump at 4 p.m. later that day. So
Yes.
the women's long jump supposedly precludes the women's pentathlon 800. But again, that's difficult, but I
Yeah.
think doable.
I came from the experience of it. We did it last year in my previous school. We did it indoor. We had it the same day as meet, and then outdoor it was 2 weeks before. But you think about it, you look through the schedule. Okay, what can we double up on, triple up on, quadruple up on? But the biggest kicker is, okay, you can do it, but can you do it well? Is it worth taking away? If you're a multi-eventer, is it worth taking away, your multi-event score to potentially go to nationals so you can go get 6th in long jump?
And I think that's one of the things that we talked about.
Yeah.
That was the biggest issue, is that what is the concept or the guiding premise behind our meet?
Mhm.
Is it our meet is a great opportunity for kids to qualify for nationals, or is it,
trying to have everybody there,
trying to have everybody score as many points as possible? Is it all inclusive? In the past, we didn't even have a multi in the past.
Right.
Last year was the first year that we had a multi. So because it was 10 days before, people went out, did it as aggressively and as hard as they could compete in it. I would compare it to racing a championship style mile versus a time trial mile, where we're trying to hit a number that's going to get you to a national meet. I think this turns it more into a time trial.
Yeah, you're just trying to get points.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a lot more watered down too, because if you can do a multi 3 weeks ahead and score your national mark and say, all right, now we're gonna put you in 5 open events and let you get points there. It's like you're not gonna have your conference champion in this could not be the best athlete, because that athlete already has their mark, and we're going to put them in 5 different events and get 50 points instead of 10.
And that's what we did last year.
With
if
a
you look
lease.
at indoor versus outdoor, like the indoor meet, we actually hit a couple qualifiers in the outdoor meet, which is not there because you don't
Well,
put
at
the
least
same
hit
athletes
one.
in.
But
Yeah.
what were you going to say, Tom?
Say if you have it during the meet now, it's going to turn into just score enough points to get as many points as possible. It's not going to be kind of like the time trial that it was previously if you compare it to distance races, because let's face it, in the distance events at conference, no one's qualifying to the national championships there.
Mm-hmm.
Never happens. And so if you have it set up like this, chances are no one's going to qualify to the national championships in that, if they're trying to do other events and score points.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I mean, this is interesting because Patrick brings at least some perspective about how it was received. Because, interesting fact, I used to work in the Northern Sun Conference at Augustana College. Patrick has just come from the Northern Sun Conference, working at Northern State. When I was there, the heptathlon was 10 days before, and then you had the meet. How was it received actually executing it in the meet? And you're a little bit different in that you've got 16 teams, is that right?
Yeah, 16 men's teams, 16 women teams and 12 men's teams. And the one thing I will say, having it within the meet, is it created a much better environment. I mean, having the multi for the indoor in the meet with all the teams around, with the environment of a conference championship, you saw a lot of strong performances. And yes, we still doubled up, we still had people triple up, and you still took that risk. But there is still, I think we had 3 or 4 national qualifying marks from that competition. The difference coming outdoor was, the environment just wasn't there, because it's just the multi kids. Right. And not every school has them, and it's low key. I mean, we still
like
have
every other multi.
Right, exactly. It just feels like every other meet. Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And you still have great performances. I mean, I know 2 years ago, the year before I got there, the top 8 on the men's side all had to be national qualifiers. And if the 9th place person was like 100 points back. This year, I think the top 6 were national qualifiers. But
Are you talking about the outdoor?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so you still have these great performances, but the excitement behind everything isn't there. The crowd isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And so adding it to a regular meet's great, but then you have to think of, are you going to just try to shove it into a day and a half meet, or can you spread it out over 3 days? Or, outdoor, can you spread it out over 4 days or 3? How can you make it work where you can still get quality, but if you have the smaller teams that need people to double up, they can still do that. And that's where a lot of the push back and forth is the teams that have enough numbers say, I don't need to double up.
Yeah.
Well, I like it. And the people that have less numbers say, I need these guys to double up, and say, well, this doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And so you come down, then the other big point is saying, okay, what are we trying to do at this conference meet? Are we trying to score points, or are we trying to send people to national?
Well, I was going to say, talk a little bit about your qualification procedure in the Northern Sun, which for those of you who are listening along at home, in our league, it is every team gets to enter 5 kids. There is no team cap, which in a lot of leagues there's a team cap, but those are the limitations. So talk to us a little bit about the format of your meet.
So the Northern Sun is essentially top 30 in each event. It's performance list. So top 30 in each event is on goes to the meet. Now there are certain events that are limited where top 28 for I forget. Top 32 is the 60, the 100, the 60 hurdles, like those type of things. Top 24 and then top 28 I think is for the 400 and the 200. But then basically the distance events are, if you want to enter them, you can. You got four wild cards. So say you had
This gets super strategic.
Yeah. So you say like you have most of the times they're using the
Crazy.
sprints or the distance where
There's no team roster cap, correct?
no. So you have schools that have Minnesota State Mankato, who literally their entire team probably can qualify for the conference meet because they are that successful. And then you have other teams that aren't even bringing enough to field to have it count as a true meet for NCAA purposes. So, but you sit there and you follow this list, but there's no set number that says if you run this, you're in. And so you're on the distance side of things, you're trying to figure out, okay, my person needs to run a 5K 2 weeks before, but then they're sitting 28th. It's like, well, shoot, are they in or not? Or in like the 60 hurdles where you're sitting 28th, 29th, or 30th, and everybody's going to go to this meet at SDSU. It's like, are they going to drop time? And so you never know when you're finally in.
It's not 30. It's 24
for
your to
for
be
the
able to
200.
be in. No, for the sprint events, wasn't it? Like
No.
24.
So they switched. So the 60 and the 60 hurdles and like the short sprints, like the 100, those stuff. Those they basically did 32. And then the 2 and the 4 and the 400 hurdles were all either 24 or 28 or something like that. It was less than.
So I'm looking at this right here. I'm looking at the results from the 200 meter dash, and Minnesota State Mankato had 6 of the top 8 in the 200.
That is.
And
that's
there were only
indoor.
2 other schools that had even participants.
Yeah.
In the event. Now, I mean, if we keep going down, is the 400 about the same way?
Yep.
Yep. You got 1, 2, 3. You only got 3 that they were in there, but they went 1, 2, 3 in the final. 47, 48, 48. Yeah.
So it's those things that it's just, I mean, it's intense. And then you have the events like the 600 and the 1,000 that make no sense. And you're sitting there, why are we running these things? But that's a whole different discussion.
I don't know. And, I don't
and
know
there
where
were-
that came from. It's just a traditional thing.
There were talks of them wanting to run the 400 hurdles indoors and count that as a conference meet.
That did come up at the conference meet this year. It got voted down, didn't get passed. But part of me wonders, is that just
Well, I think
is
from
that
what
just
I know-
Mason just being Mason?
Well, they were trying to show, I think, with how because the 600 and 1,000 is not an NCAA event, and they want to take those out because why run it when you're not going to qualify for nationals?
Yeah.
But I think the introduction of the 400 hurdles was kind of say, you guys think this is absurd. Well, it's the same thing as the 6 and the 1,000. So why are we running this but not?
So Minnesota State Mankato does run the
They do.
400 meter hurdles during the indoor season,
Yep.
don't they?
They
Yeah.
do. They do both. All their home meets, they do it, and it's. I mean, Northern Iowa's done it before.
Set
Some
that up.
schools over in Europe do it. Or
Hurdle
some
on the
meets over
curve,
do it
hurdle
in
on the
Europe.
straight, hurdle on the curve, hurdle on the straight.
I've never seen it indoors. And
It's
You know,
kinda
there
like
was
the
a-
steeple.
It's a 4-turn stagger.
Yeah, there was a year that the IAAF. No, you cut.
they run it the same.
you cut after one lap.
Yeah.
So
It's just like a 400.
But then how do they fix?
The hurdles just go across the whole thing,
Oh, they're
and,
So
and
they're
you
at
can go
different-
over it
think of-
wherever you.
they're at
No,
different-
they're
think
in
of
a
steeple
line.
size.
So
Steeple
when you
barrier.
start though,
Yeah.
the
When you
first
start,
lap-
you go past them.
oh, you don't.
Actually,
okay.
are there 2 hurdles
There's 3 hurdles.
per lap?
No, 4 hurdles per lap.
Yeah,
So in the first,
but in the
lap-
start, you don't go over hurdle. You go over hurdle after like 50, 60 meters.
I don't
Well,
know.
if you-
So they're all the same, but
you run
they're
a-
technically in different
And that's-
different distances from the start for the first
No, because they
lap.
don't adjust them.
No, they don't change
They
anything.
don't move it.
Yeah, so they're different distances.
yeah, 2 to first hurdle.
Yeah, they're not staggered at all. They're
I'm
no,
So
trying
if
to-
you're out in
staggered.
lane, because if you're in lane 1, it's going to be farther away than if you're in lane 8 because it goes straight. But there's no hurdle all the way out in lane 8. I don't know. I've never ran it, so
Okay, so
we didn't compete at Mankato.
This
so.
is what I want to do. I want to look up. Oh, Mav Track. There it is. 2 minutes ago, they posted something. Let's take it. Well, I don't want to look at their story. I want to look at their.
Scholar athletes.
Yeah, Scholar F.
You guys had 2 of those.
Yes, we did.
Well, more than that, but you had 2 big ones.
And 2 big ones. All right, so we're going to map track, and what I'm going to look at here, if I can find it, is them running the 400-meter hurdles indoor. Not only is it pretty unprecedented or a really strange thing to do, but they're probably the only place that does it. Them and it actually got on Float Track.
Yeah.
Yeah, Float Track actually picked it up. We're very close here. That's the indoor, so that's indoor nationals.
But the other cool part, so Mankato does a great job of hosting meets, but I think Flow Track posted it this year, but for our 4x4 for indoor, we had walkout songs and they did a spotlight and everything like that. And originally it was supposed to be each team was supposed to have their own walkout
Did
song.
I pass that?
So we all chose our own song, and then they realized how long that would take because they're going to play 30 seconds of each song
For each person?
For each team.
And so, I mean, with you have 16 guys teams,
Yeah.
you're talking like you're
8
coming out and
minutes.
they've already warmed up and it's like, well, shoot, So they ended up switching it to
another
like
build up.
4 songs that you just come out when it gets called. But it was a great time as well.
I'm seeing if I can find that because that would have been conference right
Just
here.
Google
Here,
400 hurdles.
it's here, right?
400 hurdles.
Oh, it's it. I don't want to see that. I want
It's that
this.
one. More than that, they got 2 big ones.
2 big ones. All right, so we're going to map. And that's just a quick clip. I don't even know if this one shows it even better. Yeah, so this is a much better view of it. I mean, you can talk about it a little bit.
I mean, it just created a fun environment. You talk about how track meets are boring, and it's like this is how you make them exciting and enjoyable, and
So
and people want to come and watch them. And the athletes were just, I mean, that's all they talked about.
Yeah.
They were so, as soon as they heard about the song, it was like, oh, what song we gonna choose? What song is like,
All of a sudden, I want to be on the floor.
I want to be on the 4x4. That's right.
It's like nobody wanted to get off the 4x4. Everybody wanted to be on it.
So, conversely, like this is one of those things. So you can even talk about like going down to the 4x4 at the end of the 4x4. Teams lined the track, did they not?
Yeah. So basically, it's just I think the Music City, the one in Nashville.
Yeah,
They do the same things. Like you come down. I think they came down to lane 4. There's your 400 hurdles, but they come down to lane 4 and they engulf at the track, and it's just.
Yeah.
I mean,
Especially for I know for Danny Wallace ran the mile there, and there was people in lane 4 and 5 just the last 100 meters. Just,
I got all the way up to lane 2, and then I got pushed back. So I think I got a little too close.
Were
But
you there this year?
no, I was talking at conference. At
Oh,
Army.
at conference.
No.
But so, for example, to take this and juxtapose it with the way that our league runs things,
Mhm. I mean,
you're not allowed to be on the infield during the 4x4. Like they want you in the stands.
right, and it's
And
one of those things that I mean, this is a thing that Mankato does.
Right.
That they do it at all their meets. It's not the conference doesn't say this is what we want. Mankato says this is what we're going to allow.
But again, that's
they run
because
the
they
meet.
run the meet, right?
Exactly.
In
Yeah.
our league, the conference comes in and runs the meet.
Right, and that's the one thing that it's great because as a coach you can let them run the meet and you're just providing facility. But when you know how to run a meet and you can do something like Mankato did for a conference meet and create that environment and allow that, it's like it's worth taking over the meet itself.
So
And
here is an example of that. And this is every single year, Stanford and Cal have a duel, okay? This is an example. You've got athletes lining the inside of the track, and you've got athletes all the way up to the outside of lane 2. No one's interfering with anybody. Everybody's been to a track meet. They understand what's going on, and they're allowing the athletes to feed off that energy.
Right.
And this is one of the things that I've struggled with to kind of explain to our league is that the worst track meet is a sterile environment, right? Where everyone is kind of kept in their area and not allowed to kind of I'm trying to think of another event where if you've been there before, you kind of know how to travel or move from place to place and where you can and can't be.
Well, golf.
Golf. Okay, you can talk about that a little bit more. I
Well,
don't know.
like-
I don't know about golf.
Because there's tournaments where it's, like you said, super sterile and everybody's being, very nice.
Yeah.
And then there's others where there's
Like when Tiger
go
Woods
crazy.
is playing, and there's just thousands of
Yes,
people
following
walking. I'm
him.
like, what? They're all over the golf course.
And now tell me, which one do you enjoy more?
I
Even
could-
as a golfer.
Man, watching it on TV, watching those people follow Tiger, I'm like, this is. I
Yeah.
wish I was there.
Exactly.
I wish I was a part of it. Watching that when they're like, and there's a rope and holding everybody
Yeah,
off. You know what I mean? It's like I don't.
I want the tournament that John Daly's at, because if that's
Yeah,
that's what I
exactly.
want to go to.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
what I'm enjoying.
Yeah.
You know?
The tournament with Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Why Happy Gilmore achieved that feat just one round ago. Yeah, I mean that is fantastic. So
So there is an issue when this is negative. I mean,
I don't disagree
and
with that.
It happened, I think, last year. One of the conference meets up in the Northeast. Their team lost a meet because
Someone impeded a
Yeah.
runner.
and they lost. They had won the 4x4.
Was
And
it
DQ'd him.
was it someone that wasn't in the race though?
Yeah,
or
it was
was
one
it?
of the. It was they were going to celebrate and they came in too quick. And
But it was a team
It was
that
a
was
team
like in last. They weren't even relevant.
Correct.
But even though they DQ'd the first place team because they impeded the 10th place team.
right.
Even though the
exactly.
10th place team had no bearing on
I mean,
what's going on.
he was there out. I mean, they were nowhere. They were literally walking basically to finish
Yeah,
just to finish.
and that's a difficulty with our sport. I feel like at some point you just have to use common sense and be like, I realize that they impeded your guy, but you guys were
didn't
going to
matter.
run 4 minutes and 45 seconds in the women's 4x4,
Yeah.
and we shouldn't even have let you in the race. You want the kids to determine the outcome of the meet, right?
right.
Rather than
100%.
have a rule which negates an awesome performance.
Well,
So
let's
look-
not
a lot
go
of
into
it-
hurdles here.
Yeah.
A lot of it, and this is even more so in Europe, is just that's how it's always been. This is how we're doing.
Oh,
it.
we'll
In
talk
track.
about the rule with the headwind
Right,
and the.
so in Germany you can only run the 100 in one direction. Doesn't matter
But what's
which
the
way
rule
the winds
read?
go.
The grass
because
has to be
it
on the
says
left.
in the rule book.
Mm.
The grass has to be on your left.
So if there is
What
if there
sense-
is no stands and there's grass on both sides,
That's
can you run it backwards?
a good question. Yeah.
But that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't help anybody. But it's just in the rule book, and it's
Right.
been there forever.
Yeah.
So now if I do a deck in Europe,
You better hope
I might
you better hope
I
for
might
on
get
the
screwed on the
backstretch.
100 already
Yeah.
because we run into it.
Okay, so let's just take a moment here. We're just going to look at. So this is Minnesota State Mankato's facility. This looks like this is just at a regular meet.
It was, yeah.
Please, if you got to leave at any time, just
No,
let
I'm
us
good.
know. We're
I
just having
I do
fun
gotta
with
make
it.
a phone call. But.
I'm having fun with this. So let's just take a look here. Here are the 400-meter hurdles.
It's not the prettiest race, that's for sure.
So they're starting to cut.
So this is I don't know. This is
They do cut in.
yeah, they cut in, but I don't know what the first two hurdles
So
are.
is that the first lap, probably?
That's
They
the
gotta-
first lap.
They have to run over a hurdle like 2 meters before the finish line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You
No,
got to
no,
finish
I mean,
it.
That's
That's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
finish line right there. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
It's like-
but it
it's-
doesn't move.
It's like
So
the high school
that's so
300.
cool.
It's like the high school
cool.
300
Yeah, yeah.
race, you know.
Yeah.
So it really comes down to the last hurdle.
Yeah. So if you eat it, you
Race is
literally
not
just
over,
dive
time,
through
get
the
down
hurdle.
first.
Just don't touch it with your hands, but yeah.
The real question is, could we get Craig at JDL to throw this in there?
But at
And
JDL,
could we get Nicholas Clyde to run the 400-meter hurdle?
not fast.
I
Well,
mean-
at JDL, you'd put one hurdle on the straight.
This is the same size
200.
track.
It's still 200. You just don't have the pillars on the inside.
It's true.
So, I mean, you'd have at the
But
beginning
How
there.
many, is that 6?
There's
lanes
10.
around?
So you've
8?
got 5 per lap. You have
No,
5
this is
hurdles
8.
per lap.
8.
No, it's 6 on the
lanes.
turn.
Is it 6?
Yes, that
Eight
is
on-
8
eight-
lanes. That is 8 lanes.
On the oh, it is. You're
It
right,
is
yeah,
8
'cause We don't
lanes.
run 1 and 2 at conference.
That's right.
No, they didn't. That's right. Which they're redoing this facility too.
They are.
I've been there. I ran 201 on that track
That's really
at
fast.
NCAA's.
School record. Oh, flat. What is
Got second to last.
Yeah, that's actually a facility where they're reworking currently. Man, streaming this makes it difficult. This is
Yeah,
a
there it
quick
is.
video of their adjustments to their facility. That is a stark purple.
That's the color of the track?
That is the color of the
Man.
track. The one thing that I think is cool, and you can't really see it here, I don't think, is that Mondo is installing it. If you look closely, the lanes, typically which are painted over the top of Mondo, are white strips of Mondo inserted so that the lanes don't fade. So look here. You can see those lanes are cut in.
Mhm.
So the lanes are white pieces of Mondo this wide that go all the way
So you never
around
have-
the track.
you
So
never
you
have to
never
repaint
have
it.
to paint the track. And the lanes always say super bright. So you can see that over
Yeah.
here. You can see where there's no lanes through here. And then further out, you can see where they've cut in some of those. That's pretty cool.
It's a bright purple.
It is a bright
Mm-hmm.
purple. But again, it's obviously gonna fade over time. So I don't know. I thought those are some things that I think are very interesting that are changing in our league. Things that obviously I think goes back to what are we trying to do. I struggle with the idea that because for example, we've got a girl named Elise Olseth. She's on our team. We had her do. She's far and away the best heptathlete on our team. We had her do the heptathlon at conference, but she did it with the most minimal amount of effort possible.
This is the guy Jim coached to a national championship. He got 11th.
A do.
Yeah, he got 11th at that meet. I got 12th.
In which one? Oh, indoor.
NCAA.
Oh, he didn't run.
2012.
He didn't run. He ran once, and then
This
like
is the
got,
year after you.
Yeah.
After he won.
yeah, he got hurt and just didn't run for a very, very long time. But Elise basically went to the meet. She ran the hurdles hard, get lots of points, right?
Yeah.
High jump took 2 or 3 attempts.
Yeah.
We just opened up at a height we knew we could make. Bam, over that, make the next
And she
height.
was jumping pretty well, but I was just
We just shut it down.
Yeah.
We just shut it down.
I
Shot
had
put,
to- yeah,
and it was hard to hold her back.
yeah. Especially the 200. She walked up to me. She's like, "I don't know how to run this. If
I don't know how to
go all
run
out."
slowly. It's
Right,
like
yeah.
just talk to the girl next to you as you
Yes.
run. So she definitely did that. But I mean, literally during the 800, she was
Mm.
like, "How fast should I run?" I was
Right.
like, "Get with one of the girls in the back that's on our team that needs encouragement
Yeah.
and run with her
And
the
that's what
entire
she
time."
did.
So she just ran alongside. Was like, "You're doing well. You just keep going. Try to do your best."
Yeah.
3 flat or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, normally she runs 30 seconds faster than that. So
I mean, I've
But
had athletes that can do this schedule. I mean, Gina Cube at Pembroke when I was there, she did this schedule every year for outdoor conference, and she I think she ended up competing in like 12 events that weekend because she did the 4x1 on top of the long jump, high jump, 100 hurdles, then the whole multi, then the javelin, and it's great. But then that's when you look at the conference and say, is it worth it?
Well,
'Cause
that's
if she's gonna win multiple
Right.
times, then yeah, it's worth it. But if you're going there, well, you're gonna get 6th, 7th, 8th. Is it really
then
worth going over that much time?
With the multi, the problem is either way is that you can only get in probably 2 to get you qualified.
Right.
So if you don't have one set up and you go to the
Conference
conference
meet,
meet and
you're
just
not
trying to
really
bang
doing it.
out.
Well, and here's the other thing: the absurdity of the fact that our league hosts ours the third week in April impedes our ability to have a good multi anywhere else.
Doesn't that get changed?
It is, but I mean, they're moving it by like 10 days. Like again, when your date was what the last qualifying
ours is
date?
the last qualifying date. Granted, that's because it also snowed the day before the conference track meet up there in Duluth.
But if I'm looking at the calendar,
We're not going to have that problem.
if I'm
I'm so glad
ours
for
is
that.
more like we don't want it late because it's so hot. But
Right.
if I look at ours, okay, the last qualifying date is going to be a week after our conference meet, which is good. But even like a week, it just gives us the flexibility to move things around, give us the opportunity.
I like it set up that way because you can have the conference championship and you still have an opportunity to go to the last chance meet and do some fast time trials. We could still take Raftus up to Chicago to run a fast 10K.
The only thing I would say to that is that out of the 10 times I've taken kids to last chance meets, it's working out once.
I've had
That's-
better luck than you.
You have had better luck than me, but I'm just saying, like for us, most of the time, number one, it's hard to find last chance meets because you've got one. I mean, you've got teams from Michigan flying all the way down here. It's expensive.
Yeah.
It's a pain logistically. We flew to LA one year. It worked out the one time it's ever worked out, but I mean, that's what's difficult about it. I'm not saying
It's
there's not a
what we
pro
had
to it.
do
for
with
decathlon with a
yeah,
head.
in
Yeah.
2016.
It was
Have to
miserable.
drive
It was
13 hours up to Michigan.
miserable. 13 hours.
Yeah.
We drove 13 hours
Just to find a multi.
just to find one in the United States. So I don't think that's the solution. And I think for our sport, that's bad. And I think one of the other things that we struggle with the most is the psychological and emotional component that happens with our kids. Conference is over. We're on a
Agreed.
downhill. No one is riding that wave to the next week. And what I like is if you don't rely on Dr. Keeler, and we can set things up, and you can go to a place like Mount Sac.
Yeah, well, that'd be better. Be perfect.
Thank you. I mean,
But I'm
that's
saying
exactly
that-
my
But
argument.
so the way it's set up now is we could still go to Mount Sac, and then if for whatever reason,
I think Mount Sac is conference weekend, so this year that is going to be
like the 20th, April 20th.
it's going to be the week before. It's going to be the week before conference. You're really going to go have your kids hammering a bunch of stuff and is that kickback
I
on?
thought
Not yet.
thought it was getting moved to. It'd be like May 1st and 2nd.
Let's see.
I don't know, but we need to have one that says we're experiencing technical difficulties. So you're back on with the Jim and Vince show here. We're going to try to get things set back up with the camera. But, I mean, long story short, things are getting better. Suffice to say, things are not great, but they are getting better. So,
Well,
that's-
when I first came in, we didn't even have multis.
when I first came here, we didn't have a conference meet until that year.
Yeah, there you go. Just takes time.
That is
Speaking of which,
That is 100% the truth. Okay, so we are going to. I think we're going to end on that. We don't really have a format or a time that we're going to continue to do this with.
You got to start naming your shows, Jim, instead of just the Jim Patrick show.
So
You got to say what we're going to talk about, so people can click on it.
well, I mean that's going to be something that we'll have to do. One of the things that we're going to have to figure out.
Then he says there's another.
it's not like
We'll work on it. Thank you guys for joining us. Look forward to seeing you the next time on the Jim and Vince Show.